The barrels for the Triumph Trident are still away being rebored, or hopefully going to be rebored sometime soon, and to keep moving forward with the Trident engine because the Bezump Rally is approaching. I decided I'd actually install the primary drive. The issue with doing that is that you can't then turn the engine because you'll end up with connecting rods flailing about, which is never a good thing. But you can do it if you're careful. The primary drive has to be assembled such that the triplex chain is not stressed, because when they break they make a lot of mess. And I bought this Trident in 1973, and it had a new engine, and the engine has an SR number, which is a service replacement number, and the story goes that one of the staff in the Triumph factory found that, because they were doing piecework, which meant they got paid per piece that they made rather than a standard salary, and this chap had found that if he put 6 chain wheels in a row, he could machine 6 of one and get 6 times the amount of money. Unfortunately, the accuracy wasn't there, and triplex chains do not like to be twisted or whatever, so it let go and made a big mess. So this chain wheel is new to this engine, so you have to go through the alignment. I mean, even if it was the same part, I would have still gone through the alignment anyway. And one of the things you need to do is you need to fit the radial thrust bearing and the thrust washer, and then fit the, this is held in with a little bit of grease, fit the chain wheel so that it sits. You need to actually make some measurements, and in this case the gasket face of the outer primary chain case will be the datum. So the idea is you actually need to understand how far in the chain is actually sitting on this face. By measuring using the straight edge across the gasket face, I can actually make an average to take into account the fact that this might not be sitting perfectly flat. It can rock very slightly, and knowing the width of the ruler at 0.9835 and the measurement that I get using the vernier caliper, I actually get a distance between the face of the gasket face and the chain wheel of 60.5 thou. Now I've also measured the gasket width, and that's 20 thou, and that will compress very slightly, of course. So I know where that position is. The next stage is to measure on the engine with the oil pump drive and the chain wheel, and measure that gasket face, from that gasket face I should say, and then I can calculate the difference between the two sizes, and I have some shims, and they are available in two specific thicknesses of 30 thou and 10 thou, and that's an older 30 thou one, and I can then align the primary chain, and then I can then fit that. So we'll measure the engine sprocket X. To measure the position of the engine sprocket, knowing the width, what I do is actually position the straight edge across the sprocket, and then using the vernier micrometer, to get it as straight as possible, I can then measure, and I tend to measure in a couple of places where the actual distance from this datum to the edge of the sprocket, and that then allows me to calculate the shock absorber to the other datum, of course, which will press up against this, plus the gasket, and I can then work out what shims I need to put behind the sprocket to make them align, so that we don't have any misalignment issues with the chain. The factory alignment tool, well in fact two parts, is shown in the diagram. You have a clamp to hold the shock absorber, and then a ruler to actually measure the position of the two sprockets. My alignment shows the required amount of shims that I need, a 39 thou, which is a 10 thou and a 30 thou shim, which is quite acceptable. Now that I have calculated the required shims, I have a 30 thou and a 10 thou, actually measures 39.5 thou total. I need 39 thou, so I think the half a thou is going to be okay. First thing we need to do is fit the oil pump and the oil pump drive gear, and then we can start to fit the primary chain. First thing, of course, is to fit the gasket in the back of the oil pump position, and I'm going to hold it in place with some grease. Not strictly necessary, as there is a dowel up there in the back that will actually hold it. 1, 2, 3, 4, yep, so it's that way round. Well, so the dowel will hold it in place, and that's not right. Got it stuck, of course. There we go. And I'm next going to apply some grease. Now, because of the dowel, the pump will actually only go in one way round. And what I've done is marked a line on here using the Allen key to put a guide, and I've also put a guide because that's where the screw goes, so I actually have a guide on the pump, so I know roughly where it's going to go. And I'm going to apply some grease to the oil pump. Where's the line? The line is there. And we have to actually get those over the O-rings. Now, I tend to use a mounting screw to allow me to line up the pump. So when that screw goes all the way in, I know that the pump is lined up, and there we go. So I'm now going to fit the other 3 screws, and we can discuss. Oh. Interesting. That one doesn't seem to want to go in. And we can discuss the pump while we're about it. So that one went all the way in. Now I'm not going to tighten these up fully yet, but I want to actually get them in far enough so I can turn. You will note on this oil pump drive sprocket that there are 4 holes which are actually spaced slightly different distances, and the idea of that is to allow you to find the holes. There's one there. There's one there. Yeah. To fit the primary chain, I actually put the chain onto the chain wheel and then line it up with the splines on the clutch, and then line it up with the splines on the crankshaft. There we go. And there we are. Now I have got the washer at the back of the shock absorber, and that actually provides a base for the nut to fit on, in front of the splines. And we can see that the chain is in excellent condition. There's a little bit of slack, but of course the chain tensioner will actually sit here and fill that. You will have noted perhaps that I did not fit the inner thrust washer that goes between the clutch inner, or primary drive inner cover, and the shock absorber. The inner thrust washer is not used anymore. It was actually put in there initially to act as a washer between the shock absorber and the inner cover, in the case that the clutch pull rod actually broke, because of course the pull rod actually pulls the clutch and the shock absorber away, giving clearance behind there. While we're here, I could mention another way of aligning the clutch is that you put it together like this, bolt it all up, and then tighten the clutch pull rod correctly. That then positions the clutch and the shock absorber against the inner boss on the outer primary chain case cover. And then what you do is you actually take the cover off very, very carefully, trying not to disturb anything, and then you can actually measure from the datum face to there, and actually look to see if you've actually got the right amount of shims behind the engine sprocket. I have tried that in the past, and it does work, and it took me a little bit of time going back and forth to make sure I'd actually could get the primary chain case off without moving the clutch. But you know, that's another way of doing it. Up. So there we are. Hopefully soon I will get the barrels. In the meantime, I shall continue cleaning threads and things so that when I come to bolt everything up, it all goes together nice and easily. I've cleaned all the screw holes all around.